All right, welcome into this video. My name is Money Coach Joe, and today in this video, we're going to be talking to another student from the Financial Freedom Academy. For those of you who don't know what that is the one-on-one coaching program that I run where I work with people one-on-one to build them a custom step-by-step financial roadmap to take them from where they are to where they want to be, securing their finances, eliminating their debts, helping them build wealth on autopilot and secure a comfortable earlier retirement than they ever thought possible. Now, Michael actually attended a webinar that I held, a free webinar that I held a couple of months ago, and within 6 weeks has achieved the results that you're about to hear from him. First of all, I want to thank Michael for taking part in this interview. He did this off his own back. We don't pay people to take part in these interviews. They're just people who have been through the program, very happy with their results, and are therefore happy to give us a little bit of their time to hopefully inspire other people just like you watching this to also take action on moving forward, doing something to move the needle and get you from where you are now to where you want to be with your finances. So without further ado, let's dive into it and hear from Michael about his time in the Financial Freedom Academy.
All right, Michael, thank you very, very much for taking the time to do this. Really, really appreciate it. Obviously, before we started recording this, we just kind of run through what we've been doing, what we've managed to do with your roadmap since you joined the program not too long ago now. And really, the purpose of this is kind of like I mentioned, so long as you're happy to just discuss what you've managed to achieve as part of the process, to help anyone who might be able to relate to your circumstances to see that they could potentially benefit from it too, really. So with that said, I suppose the best place to start is, before you joined the program, where did you feel like you were at in terms of your finances, the goals you wanted to achieve, and what made you want to take the leap to join the program in the first place?
For me, I thought I was relatively good at managing money, or at least that was my perception. And I think so. I'm 41, and I think I had this idea that for me, I've always had this niggling doubt about retirement, about what that looks like, because I think in today's world we don't really know what the statutory pension is going to look like. That always riddled me with a little bit of fear, and I'm well aware that the workplace pension I'm on potentially, but with no knowledge, just thinking, is that really working hard enough for me? And I just wasn't prepared for me to take the risk. It felt like a risk just to carry on my rest of my working life to get to a retirement age and then see what that looked like. And that for me was enough motivation to just start looking around to see what solutions there were, because I've got a good job, earn good money, but I was like, what's the point in doing that if in years to come when I want to retire, if it's just purely guesswork? And that was enough. That fear was enough for me to look to do something about it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you do, because a lot of people do just kind of just wing it. They bury their heads in the sand and they want to delay it for as long as possible. And unfortunately, it then becomes just more and more urgent the longer they wait. And it gets a lot more expensive to catch up to where they could have been. So it's good that you did. So I went through your one-on-one channel. So whenever anyone's in the program, they get a one-on-one channel with me directly to contact me at any time. You mentioned what your goals were at the beginning of the process, which is something we do with everyone. And yours were initially just to get control of the month-to-month finances, right? It wasn't necessarily that you were out of control, but it was just having a better grip of it and to make sure the money you had was, I suppose, put to the best use, working as hard as possible for you. Also to kind of have a designated emergency fund for yourself. And then really the big juicy bit, right, that everyone wants is to understand how best to invest that kind of extra cash that you felt like you had on a month-to-month basis when you had it, so that you could retire really just as comfortably and hopefully as early as possible, right? I know you mentioned at the time when you joined the program that by 60 was the goal, having joined the program, but beforehand you expected it would probably be more like around 68, right? So where are you now with those goals after having completed the process?
What I find interesting is when you join the program and you're asked to list your goals, I think a lot of us would sit there and go, I have absolutely no idea, like genuinely not a clue. I've not been forced to think about this or even say the words out loud. So I think the first one was get control of the finances, because whilst they weren't, or at the time I didn't think they were out of control, I would actually now look back and go, they probably were out of control, to be fair. So that goal for me has been a massive tick, because I think it just changed the way I thought about money. So, like, what I meant by control was I could see money coming in and going out, but it really wasn't structured in any particular way. And for other people listening to this, their benefit is what we've done is set up what you called sinking funds, or separate accounts almost, and look forward as to the amount of money that is expected to be spent on different things, whether that be Christmas gift was one that stood out because you're like, that happens every year, or a holiday, and have these accounts set up where money goes into them every month, so that when those occurrences happen, it's not like, oh no, what do I do? It's okay, the money's there, it's been put away, it's organized. And then the emergency fund, I think, was so simple yet so effective, because money can sit in your current account doing absolutely nothing, and probably does, and is often a little bit of, like, for me certainly, it was definitely like a safety. It was just knowing that it's there, but it's not doing anything. And even in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm probably about a month or two away from the emergency fund being fully finished and set up. But already that money is in a savings account that I can get access to, but is already earning money from the money that sat there, which it previously wouldn't have done. Just knowing that that's there. And I think, for anyone else watching, where you're in that moment of doubt where it's like, well, actually, if I, like, for me, it was quite hard after that first call, because it was like, right, I need to move money out of my current account into this other account, and my account's going to suddenly look really bare. But then there was this dawn of realization for me that was like, well, it's not, it's just in another place, and these second accounts have money in for the stuff that I know is going to be coming. What's there is what needs to be there, instead of this false kind of sense of security almost. I hope that makes sense. And then the whole long-term plan was, like I said, 60, and I'll admit now it was 60. I don't know. Like, I think for most of us, you think, well, the retirement age only ever seems to go up, or at least that's what you see and read. So I was like, it would be nice to get to 60. I'll put that down, because if we ever got to that, that would be good. Like, that's less than what I'm planning for. But I genuinely had no idea. Like, I was going into it fully eyes open, but also unaware, like completely unaware of what was possible. And like, I'll let you go with the long-term stuff, because that was an eye-opener.
Yeah, it was. So like you touched on, really, so what we've now got in place is a nice, easy, low maintenance money management system, which ultimately freed up, I think, based on the average of the 3 months we look back over versus the new plan, the difference was about £1,900 per month that we're like better off by, that we can then put to work elsewhere, which is huge. Like you said, the sinking funds, the kind of level loading practices that we put in place, like I call it. A lot of people will hear that and be like, well, I can do that. I can put money away into like a holiday pot and blah, 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 right? It sounds really easy. And I suppose the theory is really simple, but it's a case of having a tool where you can see everything laid out and understand how much you can afford to put away, and therefore how to understand what the means are that you need to live within, and making your money go to the places you want it to, so that it's both helping you avoid surprises and issues down the long road, but also that it's working as hard as possible for you. So I think that's spot on. Then the emergency fund, absolutely right. There's so many people that come in who just have thousands or maybe even tens of thousands just sat in their current account that they just accumulate, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't want to invest it in case they do the wrong kind of investment. They don't want to put it away anywhere because they feel like then they don't have it available for them to tuck into. And actually, with the right kind of, like, again, strategy, we can put it to work. It can earn interest literally every single day, and a decent amount as well. It can still be working for you. It's still instantly accessible, but it's earmarked as emergency fund, and then everything else is put to work. Any surplus is put to work and working hard to buy back your time in the future. And then by doing exactly that, and then having that kind of longer term investment plan where we've optimized the pensions, we've set up an investment plan and strategy as well, which is now going to allow you to retire by the age of 58. And that's like a pretty much worst case plan as well, because we factored in inflation, and we factored in a lot of kind of worst case return numbers as well. And also, I just want to say, all of this was done in 3 weeks from the date you joined the program, which I think is a new record.
Really?
Right. So congrats on that. And that's down to you. That's because you came in, you did the work, you followed the steps, you sent me your stuff, you just got on with it. And as a result, you've got really good results really early on. And now you've got maximal time in the program for the rest of your life to just continue improving on that. So kudos to you with that. So I suppose the key thing is, and also, by the way, like I mentioned, 58 is 10 years earlier than what you expected would likely be the case had you not done this, right? Which was 68. So massive, massive difference, 10 years of your life back, which is very cool. So having said all of that, how do you feel now?
Just clear. I could just feel like knowing that that's like that the early stuff very much about emergency funds and separate accounts and just having clarity on stuff. And then when we went through the pensions, I just found that, again, like everybody has a workplace pension or has had workplace pensions at their roles before. And even just a simple step of looking at the fund that my existing workplace pension was going into and just actually we just need to change that to go in here to make it perform better. And then moving any existing pensions that I had into a platform that I can see with advice on where to put that to make it work better was just like, oh, and every step of the way, I just felt like I was getting that clarity on each of the things that I'd probably sat and thought about, but done nothing about, whether that be savings accounts or pensions or investments or any of it, but actually taken no logical steps forward to do anything because the lack of knowledge or confidence in the knowledge always prevents me and other people from doing it. So now I just feel like the money side of things in terms of what my money's doing or what will happen in years to come isn't a worry anymore. Like, and that's not by any means saying I'm there. I've still got years to go before I can retire, right? But I've got a pathway to knowing exactly how to achieve it, which I never had before. And that's what I was looking to do right at the start. Just have an idea or to know, just a sense of what to do.
Yeah, just clarity and confidence, right? And it's something that's really hard to put, I think, like a price tag on, but it's such a relief, right? I've felt it, and I know everyone who comes through the program says a similar thing. So,
100%.
yeah, I'm glad you're feeling in a similar way. And I was going to ask, obviously, the thing that everyone wants to know when they're watching these videos is like, how did you get these results? And you kind of just touched on it a bit there, but is there anything else you would add? Obviously, you've already just mentioned how we like optimize the pensions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the one thing that's probably whirred around my brain the most, and fascinatingly, it's been something that after our conversations, I've in my role at work, I've actually gone and spoke to members of staff and gone, right, we need to have a look at what your situation is like, just like broad strokes, because not just their workplace pension, but just giving them understanding of what compound growth actually is, what it means, and how they can not predict, but it's like kind of understand what that might mean later in life. And that's been quite empowering to not just understand it for my own benefit, but the way you did it in terms of this is kind of what your workplace pension will look like in the right fund, and calculating that over a period of years ahead of my working life at a good interest rate with additional deposits being made, what that number then looks like, to then go, well, actually, if we're doing something separate and there's an investment pot growing in a similar rate with compound growth, what that looks like, those two things together, the whole mapping out exercise, the structure that you did it in, I would never change, because it allowed someone like me to understand how it all fits together like a jigsaw. But for me to be able to have those conversations with other people on what that means for them, without going into the, like, I am nowhere near getting into the actual specifics of it, but even just a loose idea for someone to say, oh, right, okay, well, why should it be in something that earns 4% rather than 9 or 10%, for example? That the difference is ridiculous when you put the numbers in. That tool that you showed me has been stored on my box, and I will keep going back to it because it is eye-opening.
Yeah, It is. It's a game changer. Yeah, I'm really glad that it's kind of had that impact. And this is what I want to do. Is it's really just about demystifying it, right? So many people are just kind of like bamboozled by pensions, how they work, and they don't want to touch anything just in case they make it worse. When often no one's pensions are optimized, and they are missing out often over the course of their lifetime on literally hundreds of thousands of pounds of lost investment potential, simply because no one is told how to optimize their pension based on the goals that they have, the risk tolerance, and the time horizon that they have, right? So it's really kind of simple stuff if you know what to do and you have the education, right? Someone is helping you understand why you should make those changes, so that you understand the value of making them, so that then you want to make them yourself, and you are like you're in control of your money, your future, like your future income, right? And it really is kind of that. It's like empowerment, isn't it? I think a lot of the time. So, like you mentioned, especially when it comes to helping you achieve the longer term goal, 90% of it, probably 80-90% of it probably came down to optimization of the pensions, getting the old pensions you had rolled up into a fund, like you say, on a platform that we know is trustworthy and reliable, that you could then manage yourself, and mapping out how those two things fit together. But even kind of stepping back from that, just on a very basic level, it all started with just the optimization and the understanding of your month-to-month finances, so we could put the money to the places where you wanted it to go, so you could live your life, do the things you want to do with your family, still have your holidays, but also free up cash flow on top of that, which we could then put into additional contributions with the tax relief, which we then kind of help you calculate what that's going to be worth over time and how that's going to impact your end pot as well. All kind of just, it's a sequence of steps that we follow, which ultimately you end up with then a lifetime end-to-end financial roadmap, which tells you how to get from where you are now to where you want to be. And then from that point onwards as well, retirement, early retirement, whatever it looks like for anyone, from that point, understanding what your income is going to be, what you're going to take down each year to be tax efficient, and all of that kind of stuff as well. All of that is included. So I'm really glad that it's given you that clarity and that confidence, like you mentioned. And I also want to ask, I suppose, is this something you feel like you could have done maybe as fast, or maybe even at all, on your own?
Not a chance. I mean, I genuinely, I thought I was quite good at, like, I work in digital, so I had a spreadsheet set up of my incomings and outgoings, so I kind of knew where I should be, and that was my tolerance of what good was. that was enough for me. And then I was like, oh no, but I could never have got to the point, like even the pension stuff. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle that people have, understanding what even pensions are. The flexibility that you have with those pensions in terms of moving them into different pots, because that didn't even realize that was a thing. But it's that whole perception of that world, not just pensions but investments, and people see that and go, I'd rather just keep my money, I'd rather keep it in this current account and do nothing with it. And what really opened my eyes was when you understand the difference between the slightest change in interest rate and how that compounds over time, the difference that makes to the contributions that you make. I genuinely thought you'd made a mistake. I was like, that can't be. That's just not. After our latest call, I was like, I'm just going to go and check this just to be sure that Joe's not lost the plot. But no, it stacks up. I mean, fascinating, genuinely fascinating.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing, and often it's where we can often lose people as well. When we're talking to people who haven't joined the program about returns, we do some webinars sometimes and explain compounding. Often people are like, nah, that can't be right, and you're like, no, it's just literally a plan, consistency, and patience. With compounding, this is what happens. But the consistency and the patience are absolutely key. And if you don't have the plan, then you won't stick to it. So you need all of those three things. And if you do, which is what we provide you with in the program, as you know, then that we show you what's possible. And then once you see what's possible with a realistic, achievable plan based on your circumstances, people then get really fired up and they're like, right, I'm making this happen now, and I'm going to see if I can do even better, because they see how much more they could end up with, and it just means they get there even sooner. And it's really cool to see. So how have you found the process, the tools, the course, and so on?
For me, straightforward. Like from our initial call, it was organized, everything was on time. The Discord, channel helped because you can see there are other people contributing. You can see that
Mm.
other people are on different phases, but everyone's in the like kind of the siege mentality almost, that everyone's on the same journey. It's all about the same thing. And I was just of the opinion that as soon as I was given something to go and look at, I would just go and do it because it would just live in here going round. So for people sitting on the sidelines, I guess, is just the sooner you can get to the place where, like the way you've structured it, like you talked about before, like having a plan first means that the delivery of that plan can be consistent. That's why I know I would have never been able to do it myself, because I think what most people would do is chuck some money into an investment pot and then stop and then get disheartened when that money doesn't grow, then withdraw that money and end up back at square one. Whereas with this, you kind of understand how much you can free up to go into that pot. And by putting that amount in the pot at this rate over this much time, the only regret is not doing it sooner, because then you're like, if I'd have just done this even 2 years ago, 2 years worth of compounding interest would have. Yeah, I've been there. I've been living in regret, don't worry.
Yeah, everyone does. There is no one, 100% of the people who come through this program all wish they'd started sooner. Everyone does. And it's natural. I wish I'd started sooner, and I'm probably considered someone who got started early, right? Even in my early 20s. But everyone wishes they started sooner. All that matters, though, is that you do get started at some point. The best time to start was always yesterday. The next best time is always right now, right? So that's the best thing to do, is just focus forwards. But no, I totally understand what you mean. And I suppose then, what would you say to anyone who is on the fence, considering joining the program, but maybe hasn't taken the leap yet?
You're only wasting your own time. Don't do what I did, and hopefully, like, live in hope that at some point you might get some big nest egg come your way. Like, you've literally got the power to do it yourself with the job that you're in and the circumstance that you're in. Don't be put off by age, by salary, expectation, fear. That, like, there's nothing to lose and everything to gain. I know that sounds corny and cheesy, but like, for me, that's what it's been. Like, I genuinely regret not doing it sooner. And I have looked at stuff like this before and decided, nah. And that is through nothing else than a mix of fear and just lack of knowledge. So the sooner the better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And last question, is there anything you would change, anything that you would do differently or would like to see done differently as part of the program?
Genuinely, no, not for me. But I think everybody's tolerance to finance is different, right? And I'm no expert by any means, but I already was living in it. Like, I understood where money was going to a degree, albeit poorly. So, but I think the way the stages are done, it allows people, like the video tutorials and the one-to-ones, who kind of allow that knowledge to be built up at the same level over a different period of time for different people. But the sooner you can jump into it, the better, because you're literally learning your finances. It's not like it should be hard to figure out.
Yeah.
For me, like, actually, the 3-month look back is something that was done right at the start. And for those listening to this, it was more having to look back at your statements over the past 3 months and categorize where your money was going. Like, and you asked me on our first call, how was it? And I think I said something like harrowing.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, oh, I just didn't realize. And you don't, because you just, days are busy and you roll on and you wait for the next payday or whatever. But that for me was quite crucial, to look and go, oh, well, I can see immediately, even before we'd had our kind of optimization, I was thinking, I can see quite clearly now that there's gaps here, or there's mistakes being made. Yeah. And then it just, so no, I wouldn't change anything. Absolutely not. I think the structure, it's perfect.
I really appreciate that. That's very kind. And I think you're spot on. It really does give you a whole new level of visibility and clarity, and mainly just control over your finances that you've never had before. No one likes looking back over the past 3 months of where their money went. But everyone agrees that it was worthwhile and they're glad they did it, right? Whether they enjoyed it or not, which is the main thing. So yeah, no, look, I really appreciate you taking the time, Michael. It was important, I think, to say like you're taking time out of your own day to do this because you believe you've seen the results yourself of the program, and like you want other people to get these kind of results. So I really appreciate you taking the time and helping other people, inspire other people to do the same. So yeah. Obviously, we've got a long time still left in the program, so we've got a lot of time to continue iterating on this plan, see if we can still improve anything. You still, make your way through the video course and everything else. So, really looking forward to continuing to work with you on this and help you get there, hopefully even sooner by the end of your time in the program. And yeah, just want to say thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
So it goes without saying, really, but Michael is absolutely crushing it. He has done exactly what you should do if you want to secure a better and brighter financial future for yourself and your family, but you don't know where to start on your own. The first step is accepting that you're probably not going to figure it out by yourself, and getting help is going to get you there way faster and actually save you a shed ton of money in the process by helping you avoid the common mistakes that most people make. Just for some insight, we've been running this program for 2 years. On average, the people who complete this program are around 20 grand a year better off, just in terms of their month-to-month finances. They are also saving around £24,000 in interest on their debts. They are becoming debt-free 9 years faster. They are set to retire 15 years earlier, and they are saving multiple six figures in investing fees. The average right now sits at £469,000 saved in investing fees. That's that much extra that people are ending up with in their retirement accounts, rather than lining the pockets of the advisors and planners that they were previously using and relying on. Now the students in the academy, are in control of their own financial future. If that sounds like something you are interested in doing, if any of this relates to you and you would like to inquire about joining the Financial Freedom Academy, you can find the link to do that in the first link in the description below. If you've got any questions for me, just post them in the comments and I will get back to every single one of you. And if you found this video helpful or valuable or good in any way, then please make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to this video as well, so you don't miss more videos like this, as well as more on how to take control of your financial future and achieve financial freedom. I will see you in the next video.